Hi, and welcome to the Mission X webinar. My name is Jamil Garcia. I'm one of the astronaut physical trainer, and I'm also the Mission X coordinator.
Hi, thanks for joining us today. My name is Nuya Carbajal, and I'm a bilingual science educator for NASA, and I develop content.
We're going to try to give you the basics on how to run Mission X in your school. Let's take a look at what we're going to be doing today. The purpose of this webinar is to assist you, the teacher, and the leaders that are going to be implementing Mission X during the 6-week challenge in order to bring the excitement of space exploration to the children while engaging in physical activity and some educational activities.
Let's take a look at the agenda for today. We'll be covering the Mission X overview, which includes the goals and the description and a movie. And this movie will go over how Mission X got started and how the mission was implemented throughout the world. Next, we will look over the Mission X website. We want you to feel very comfortable while you navigate through the website. We will also look at the mission journals and the point rubrics. The point rubrics will help you identify how you can accumulate points for each of the activities. And then the points will be converted to steps so Astro Charlie can get to the moon. Next, we will look over the important dates for this coming up challenge, as well as we'll look at the 14 physical activities with the 4 educational activities.
Are you ready to train like an astronaut? The picture that you see in front of you is of our vertical treadmill. This treadmill is used to understand the human response to exercise while living in space. Exposure to microgravity, or reduced gravity, results in a decrease in bone mineral density, muscle loss, and some motor skills loss. By allowing humans to run on Earth in this vertical treadmill, scientists learn how exercise and nutrition help astronauts maintain bone and mineral density while they're living in space.
Let's take a look at the Mission X overview. The Mission X goals is to challenge students to be more physically active by training like real-life astronauts. Also to teach them how health and fitness plays an important role in human performance in space and on Earth.
So what is Mission X? Mission X is an internationally focused joint educational outreach challenge that integrates fitness, nutritional and educational content from multiple space agencies, institutions, and countries. It provides students and you, the teacher, with a great global experience.
It also offers 14 physical activities that are modeled after the real-life physical training of astronauts. It has 4 educational activities that emphasize the science behind the nutrition and physical fitness by participating in these structured hands-on activities. Now, let's take a look at NASA Edge episode discussing how Mission X got started. It would also let us know how Mission X Challenge was so exciting for kids around the world. Let's take a look.
Mission X has begun. A competition worldwide. Be the best you can be. Become a fit explorer. The challenge starts now.
Hey, welcome to NASA Edge.
An inside and outside look
At all things NASA.
Oh, that's gonna leave a mark.
Welcome to NASA Edge.
An inside and outside look at all things NASA.
We're here to recap Mission X Train Like an Astronaut.
And we want to congratulate all those who participated because throughout this event, you actually walked all the way to the moon. Good job.
And with us is Allie Llewellyn from NASA, who worked on Mission X. How you doing, Allie?
Great, I'm really excited to be here.
Hey, Allie, what exactly is Mission X, Train Like an Astronaut?
Well, you see, Mission X is a partnership of international space agencies that had done so much human research in space, and they decided they should put all that work to good use, getting kids excited about having a healthy lifestyle. So they taught them to train like an astronaut.
Now, when you talk about healthy lifestyle, you're talking about physical fitness, muscle and bones.
Physical fitness, muscle, bones, healthy nutrition, but also teamwork, collaboration, how to think creatively. All these subjects we work together in Mission X.
So who are some of the partners that participated in Mission X?
Well, there were 9 countries that hosted challenge teams for the first round of Mission X. These included Austria, Germany, Italy, France, the Netherlands, Spain, Colombia, the UK, and of course, here in the US. Japan also participated, and several other partner institutions like universities and planetariums.
Now, people are probably wondering, why the heck is there a big jar of M&Ms on our table? What's that represent?
Despite the fact that I'm ready to dive in that jar at any given moment.
Well, you see, we thought it would start off as a small project with maybe 100 students, but we ended up with 3,900 students who participated, training like astronauts, earning points so they could walk to the moon.
Well, how did that work? How did they actually walk to the moon? I have trouble walking down the street in my neighborhood. How did they get all the way to the moon?
Well, you guys see, there's 2 kinds of activities in Mission X. One are the physical activities, where you might do an agility course or strength training, and the other kind are science activities that use education to look at the science behind the fitness. We might look at bone strength and what makes bones strong, or how much fat there is in a cheeseburger and French fries. There's this activity right here.
Yeah, I was going to say you gave me these. You call these work gloves? I'm
Work gloves?
not sure what that means, but
anyway, this activity is called crew assembly.
Okay.
And you take what looks like an easy task,
Fair
like
enough.
this little puzzle, and then you add some complication. Having big gloves all of a sudden takes an easy task and makes it hard. You lose strength, you lose tactility, and you have to work together in a different way to accomplish your task.
So this simulates what astronauts would do, let's say, out on station on shuttle when they're doing EVAs.
Absolutely. They work together to do things that might be simple, but become a lot harder in space.
And for our purposes here, I'll take the outside pieces because that's more difficult, and you can take the real simple inside parts.
I'll take the inside
okay,
part.
great. I'll work on that
Now that the program is over and we had 3,900 successful students, and you made it to the moon,
We did make it
and
to
I
the moon.
believe it was 478 million steps.
478 million steps it takes. It would take you 9 years walking at a normal pace.
Or 18 at my pace.
If they're training like an astronaut, this sort of paves the way to a healthy lifestyle in the future.
It really does, because you see, as the World Health Organization has pointed out, childhood obesity is the most pressing health problem that we face in the 21st century. Even here in the US, the First Lady has developed the Let's Move initiative. And so schools are always looking for ways to develop partnerships to get kids excited about fitness. And so teachers have said, not only does this help me get kids excited, but it's teaching my students science and technology and engineering, getting them thinking about things that are really exciting for students.
Well, see, the great thing about this program, behind the scenes, Blair and I were actually going to your website. It's trainlikeanastronaut.org, and reading the blogs. The teachers were posting blog posts on the website, pictures and video, and it was really good to see how the kids were progressing through the activity.
It was, and to see how different it was in all the different countries, but still a lot the same.
Actually, I wish that Blair would have started this particular task months ago, because it would take him that long to put that together with his
Well,
blogs.
I'm actually posting comments now because there's a piece missing. Clearly, there's a problem with this activity because tactility or not, when you don't, I can't. Can you find a piece? I'm looking for the edge piece, and I can't find the.
While you're doing that, let's check out our international students in action, training like an astronaut. Well, so maybe next year, if Mission X continues, maybe we can go to Mars instead of the moon.
Absolutely.
Now, the question is, how many steps would it be to get to Mars?
I don't know, but I can tell you, whatever you do, whatever creative solution you come up with, don't walk to the sun. Okay, not a bad idea. There's not enough SPF out there to protect you should you walk all the way to the sun.
Die, cruel star!
Very important safety tip.
Well, again, I want to thank the 3,900 kids, all the teachers, even the parents, I'm sure, that participated in the project. It was very successful, and hopefully next year we'll be back and better than ever.
And I've got an idea. Why don't you work on the outside pieces, and I'll work on the inside pieces, because I've got some really interesting ideas
You're
here.
watching NASA Edge, an inside and outside look at all things NASA.
I still think something's missing. I don't know what it is. It's not the glove.
We're really happy to be a part of Mission X and the CISA project. We're having fun, and we're getting fit.
Space Fit 5! Woo!
We want to thank the NASA Edge folks for helping us with that video. Let's go ahead and continue. As a Mission X participant, you will actually have access to a Mission X website. So in the website, you're going to find all your information that you need to implement Mission X. The website, you'll see that there are going to be country pages. You're going to have a login area that you see on the top right corner. You can also see right next to the login area languages that are going to be available for you to select. You're also going to have access to content and support material, a blog area. You also have, as a leader, secure access to enter all the points and blogging. There's also a section to walk to the moon. We'll get to know Astro Charlie a little bit later. The website is found at trainlikeanastronaut.org.
Now let's look at how you can view a country content. There are two ways that you can do this. On the very top, there's a home tab and a country tab. By clicking on either tab, you will see the viewing of all the country flags. When you pass your cursors through these flags, you will see the name appear on the very top. In this case, we're going through the US flag and you will see USA. When you click on the flag, you will see the content of that particular country below that. You will always have the latest blog available on the very top of that page, always.
So the mission data page. This section is very important because it will provide you with the information that you need to implement activities in your classroom. It includes student handouts, teacher handouts, and then as you scroll down at the bottom of the page, you will find other supporting materials, including your journal. The mission journal allows the students to actually set up some goals. It's a place that you can record the data, make some observations, track progress, and see how they are doing on those physical activities. Remember, it's located at the bottom part in the supporting material of your mission data page. The Walk to the Moon, it's a great and exciting section for the children. This is where everybody's going to get to know Astro Charlie. Astro Charlie is a character that is going to be walking from the Earth to the Moon by converting the points that your children earn due to the activities into steps. This is truly where all the children in the world work together in a collaborative effort to make a successful walk to the moon. The children get fitter while performing all the activities, improve their understanding in nutrition, and ultimately, we all hope that Astro Charlie makes it to the moon.
The blog page is another great tool found on the Mission X website. Under Mission X News, you will see the most current updates from all our international partners. On the right-hand side, you will see the search by the country, and you will see how many uploads they have as well. Underneath that, you can also search by month, and underneath that, you'll have the challenge archives, which are pictures and images that were recorded from our prior challenge.
Let's take a look at how you log in. You will have to go into the login section in the upper right corner, click, and this will give you into the user account page. You will enter your username, a password, hit login. Once you click login, you will see a page that will be your account page. To get to your team leader area, you will have to hit on your active group, which is in blue in this page. Once you hit on that blue, in this case USA, it will take you to your team challenge page. And the team challenge page gives you access to you, the team lead, to allow to put and submit mission updates, or those are the blog postings, your weekly point reports. Soon you will see a teacher leader forum section, which we're trying to make available to you so that you can exchange ideas, connect with other teachers, learn about their cultural differences, how do they apply the Mission X in their classroom, and even organize video conferences on your own. So let's see how we submit points.
On the Submit Team Report page, you will see the teachers and leaders, and this is where you upload the points. You will see the points, and this is where you will input your points, and then you will select the activity. Then you will input the number of students that participated and the week in which this activity was actually implemented. Now, don't forget to click Save. It's very important so we can find that, so that Astro Charlie can convert these points into steps and make it all the way to the moon. Now, let's take a closer look at our, how are you going to accumulate points rubric. Okay. The physical activity as well as the educational activity, they both have their own points rubric and point collection sheet, as you can see. Now we're going to take a closer look at the points rubric from the physical education activities. We're trying to focus, and I want you to see the very top of this page. On the very top of the page, you'll see a challenge team. We want you to put your name there. In this case, we put Astro Charlie. Underneath, we have the challenge activity. It's actually the name of the activity that you are going to implement and perform. Then on the other side, you will actually have the date. This information is really very important when you're uploading this information to the website. So now let's take a closer look at the rubric itself and how you're going to score this particular activity. As you can see, on the left-hand side, we have the performance indicators. We have 5 performance indicators for this physical activity. Hold on 1 second. We have the activity completion, we have the fitness acceleration, we have the effort, space understanding, and teamwork and fun. On top, you will see the scores. The maximum score that you can get is 20 points, and that means that 100% of your team actually participated or completed that indicator. Then you'll have 15 points, which means that 75% of your team actually completed that indicator. And then 10% means 50%, 5 means that 25% of your team, and 0 means that 0% of your team completed or actually performed that indicator. So let's do an example right now so you can see how this works. Let's take, for example, activity completion. Let's say that day, for some reason, not all my students were able to complete that activity. So let's say that only 75% of my students were able to complete that base station walkback. So I'm going to circle 15. Okay. Now we're going to look at the next, and then you're going to go all across and you're going to put 15. Now we're going to look at the next indicator. The next indicator is fitness acceleration. Now, let's say that not all my students were able to do a fitness acceleration. They just have to complete one fitness acceleration. Let's say only 50% were actually able to complete a fitness acceleration. So that means that for this activity, we got 10 points for fitness acceleration. So we're going to circle 10 points for that indicator, and we're going to write it across. Let's look at the next one, effort. Though not everybody was able to complete everything, I feel that all my students put 100% effort on what they did. So I'm going to give my students here 20 points. Okay? So then I'm going to put 20 points across the board. Space understanding. Are they really able to understand how this activity connects to space? Are they able to verbally tell me how it connects to space? Not everybody's able to do, but I believe 75% of my team is able to do this, and they were able to converse with me and tell me how this related to space. And so I'm going to give them 15 points for this activity. And last is teamwork and fun. Did I feel that they all enjoy this activity? Yes. I felt by the engagement that they were in, and how they did this activity, that they all had fun, and they all praised each other. So I feel like there was a lot of teamwork here. Therefore, I'm going to give them 20 points for this activity. Once you have all those points, you will add all these points up. Each activity, you can only have a maximum of 100 points. Great job. So now for this particular activity, they accumulated 80 points for this activity. Now, we're going to go and look at the point collection sheet, how this will be inscribed in that particular sheet. Now remember, the point collection sheet you can place in your gym, or you can place it around the room so the kids can understand and they can see how they're doing in the challenge. Here's the point collection sheet. And this is Astro Charlie team. You might have different teams in your school. So you might have these collection sheets, different ones throughout your classroom. Okay. So let's look at this. We did the base station walk back, which is the very bottom, as you can see. And for activity completion, they got 15 points. So we'll circle 15. For fitness acceleration, they got 10 points. For the effort, it was 20% because I felt like 100% of them actually put all their efforts. And then space understanding, they got 15 points. And for teamwork and fun, they got 20 points. And then again, you'll have a score at the very end. And this is, like I said before, what you can place around the room so your students can see how they're doing. And they feel motivated about doing it better and each time getting a better score. Okay. Now let's look at the points rubric for the educational activities. Like the one for physical activities, we also have 5 indicators as well on the left column. Some of them are similar and some of them are different. I'm going to point out all of them, but I'm going to point out mostly the ones that are different. You're going to score a hypothesis or a prediction, where 100% of your students are able to make a prediction regarding this activity, or maybe just 75 or 50%. Safety rules. Did they all follow the safety rules while actually implementing this activity? Then the data and collection. Were they able to collect all the data and observations that they needed to? Last is space understanding, which will be the same thing as we did in physical activities. And the teamwork and fun. Did they actually enjoy it? Did they have fun? Did they want to continue doing this more? Did they go to the internet and find out even more information? Okay. Again, it's the same process. For the hypothesis or prediction, on the very top you'll see number 20. Did 100% of my kids actually were able to predict about this activity, or maybe just 75 or 50. I'm not going to go over everything like we did because it's pretty much the same thing as we did for the physical activity. And same thing for safety rules. Did all my students actually follow all the rules? Were they safe when they were actually implementing this activity? And then for the data and collection, were they able to collect the data that they needed to and make the conclusions that they needed to make, reasonable based on the activity? Okay. And again, the educational activity also has a point collection sheet that is separate from the physical activities. And it looks very similar to the other one. Again, this is a great tool to post around your room and have the kids see how they're doing and how they're progressing. And maybe they're not doing that well, let's say in prediction, maybe they'll want to do even better on the next activity. And that's the whole goal of this, for them to each time want to do better. Okay? Remember, the points that you collect are converted to steps because we want to help Astro Charlie reach for the moon.
Let's go ahead and take a look on how do we submit mission updates or our blog. As you can see from the page that you see in front of you, you will access that via your team lead, the team lead page. It will be titled Mission Update at the top. You're going to see a part that says Title. it's going to be a section that is going to be the description section. That's where you're going to go ahead and put all the information, what the kids are doing, how are they feeling, their experiences, share it with everybody else from around the world. And you will see as the challenge progresses, the kids love to post things in there. Just absolutely one of the greatest experiences for them. There are also, as you scroll down, the opportunity to actually upload photos, and underneath the photos, a video section. So as you are uploading that information and it's attached to the submission page, make sure to hit save, and that way we're going to be able to post your Mission X blogs. So as we organize in the Mission X challenge, and we have some of the planning and implementation, let me show you a few of the important dates that you got to keep in mind. So Mission X is divided into 3 stages. We have a pre-challenge, a challenge, and a post-challenge. This allows us to really develop a good planning and implementation of the program. On the pre-challenge phase, which is typically around September and December, the participants are determined. So who is going to be part of Mission X? Then training dates are set for teachers and leaders. The 6-week challenge official dates are established by the teams. We want the teachers to begin thinking about implementing their lesson plan, how they're going to be doing it, develop a plan of action. And there also around this time would be a good idea to begin to collect all the materials for the physical and educational activities. The challenge phase, typically around January through March. The beginning of January, the website opens so that teams can start uploading their scores. Teams from around the world have to make a little adjustment because of their school calendar years. So some teams start their 6-week challenge a little bit earlier, some starts a little bit late. Here in the United States, we begin around around February. 6 weeks later, middle of March or so, the website will close and you will not be able to upload new points into the website. So make sure to keep that date in mind. So once we get done with the challenge, we have a special event. Typically, this happens a few weeks after closing the website for points. So late March, early February, we will coordinate a closing event so that the children can celebrate and know other teams from other places and have that special closing sense of accomplishment. We finish that, and Mission X team begins to develop a final report that it's going to be later released to everybody who participated and available on our website.
The following will be the activities that will actually be implemented in the challenge. Let's take a look. These are the Mission X activities. There are a total of 14 physical activities and 4 educational activities. The activities in black font, they have been modified to fit the US standards. So why don't we take a closer look at the physical activities right now. On the screen, you'll see an example of an instructor guide. Remember that these guides can be downloaded from the Mission X website where it says Mission Data. Okay. These guides provide a background, the space background, provide safety guidelines, where you can set up, the location and type of equipment that you might need for that particular physical activity, monitoring, as well as how you can collect the data and how this is correlated to the US national standards. Let's take a look at an example of the mission handout. Okay. This is a one-page handout for your children. It provides them with the crew member mission, as you can see, the mission purpose, the mission question, and the assignment that they have to complete, and also provides vocabulary. On the back of this page, they will get to see how this activity relates to space. It's called Space Fact. They will have a section that's called Fit and Acceleration, and what it does, it takes the activity and just makes it a little bit more challenging. Then they'll see a section that's called Think Safety, because we always want to make sure that whatever they do, they're safe. And lastly, not lastly, but they have another section that's called Mission Exploration. In Mission Exploration, they take this particular activity and they actually put it into their everyday life. They use it in their everyday life. And lastly, but definitely a fun thing to do, is called the Fun Fact. So, why don't we go and we're going to go through each of the physical activities right now. What we're going to do, we're going to give you a brief summary of each of the activities, and then we're going to go into more in depth on how this activity relates to space. Let's start with base station walkback. In this activity, basically students are going to improve their lung, heart, and other muscle endurance. As you can see on the image, students here are either walking, jogging, or running. Now, how does base station walkback help in space exploration?
Well, Nubia, good lungs, hearts, and muscle endurance is very, very important for mission exploration. Astronauts exploring interplanetary surfaces will have most likely to set up a base somewhere, possibly take a rover to very large distances, and do their EVAs, or their extravehicular activities, or spacewalks. So if for some reason the rover breaks down, astronauts will be in great shape in order to actually walk back and make it back to the space station. Here we can see what's called the 10-kilometer walk-back test. So here on the ground, we prepare our astronauts to make sure that they're able to walk that distance back. So this test has an astronaut inside of a spacesuit. He's hooked into a system called the POGO system, which actually simulates the gravity of the moon or any other celestial body out there. Then the astronaut is right on top of a special treadmill, and they walk the distance back of 10 kilometers. During that time, scientists and engineers are looking at our astronaut. They're measuring physiological measures from our astronauts, such as oxygen production, carbon dioxide consumption. So that allows us to give information to the engineers to develop a better suit, something that actually will improve the capacity of the astronaut to make it safe to the base station. So you can see how just something that simple that you can do on the ground really relates into going into space.
No kidding, that doesn't sound that easy. Well, let's take a look at the next activity. The next activity is called the crew strength training. And children here will perform squats and push-ups. This activity strengthens their muscles, bones, and both upper and lower body. So, Jamil, I don't understand, why do you need strong upper and lower body for an astronaut?
Well, astronauts, when they're in space, astronauts got to do a lot of jobs. In a single job, one astronaut could become their medical officer, could be an engineer, could be a scientist, a mechanic, and even a pilot. So in order to have a great success of the missions, astronauts must have really good strength in both the upper and lower extremity. So some of the things that you will see, that you're seeing in the picture, for example, is maintenance inside of the vehicles. This is a picture inside of the International Space Station. What you see there is somebody removing one of the maintenance parts. What you see pulling out is the size of about a refrigerator. So there are items of very large mass that we must start and stop from movement. So although there's no gravity, you still have the mass that you have to be able to control.
That looks really heavy.
But not only in space, we always think about in space, but on the ground we have astronauts that actually do training. So the picture you see to the right is actually of an astronaut doing a crew exercise for survival. And it's very important for them to be actually strong in the upper body and therefore able to survive if something went wrong, if there was some kind of an emergency. We have to make sure that they're nice, strong, so they're always physically fit. So again, the relationship that you see with upper body, as well as we see on space, we actually do use it on Earth. So that's why the astronauts have to always maintain fit.
Well, good to know. So let's see the next one. Let's see, do a spacewalk. Here, children perform the crab walk and bear walk. By performing this activity, children increase their muscular strength as well as improve upper and lower body strength. Doing a crab walk and a bear walk on Earth, it's really hard. But it looks so easy up in space, Jamil.
Well, and you're right about that. In space, we don't have the gravity, so doing a bear crawl and a crab walk, it's going to be relatively easy, but that exercise actually does translate into space because muscular strength is something important that we need for our spacewalk. Or we call them extravehicular activities, short EVAs. But not only outside is important, also the inside. When you're inside of the vehicle, those activities that you do inside are called intravehicular activities, or IVAs. Typically, EVAs are a duration of 6 to 8 hours, so they take a long time. You have to perform many tasks that sometimes are hard, sometimes are easy. So you might have to set up some experiments, repairs, extend some of the solar arrays, just like you have seen in the previous EVAs while we're building the International Space Station. So those are maintenance jobs, things that we have to do. But can you imagine being inside of a suit that is stiff and it has pressure inside? It adds to the challenge of it. So
Yes.
we need to keep good strength for both your muscles and your bones. So we got to keep that in mind.
Wow, that sounds hard. It sounds kind of tight in there. A
Yeah.
little bit tight. I don't know how they can even walk around like a crab or a bear. But that sounds very interesting. I would like to be in one just to see what it feels like. But let's look at the next one. The next one is called Jump for the Moon. Here, you see children performing various types of exercises while jumping rope. The activity increases their bone strength as well as heart and other muscle endurance. Jumping rope to strengthen bones? Do we need that for space exploration?
Actually, we do. Because as we go into the microgravity environment or reduced gravity, the astronauts begin to adapt to the environment of space. Bones become weaker, muscles get smaller, we lose a little bit of strength. So we use exercises like jumping rope to increase our bone mineral density or bone strength, keep and maintain our actual muscle strength, and improve our cardiovascular fitness. So what you see in the camera right now, it's one of our astronauts using our cycle ergometer on the space shuttle. We use the cycle ergometer to maintain cardiovascular fitness. So that, as you can see, is very important. It's used quite a bit. We also have special treadmill that is on orbit in space, inside of the International Space Station. It is very challenging to run into space, as you could imagine. So we have to do a couple tricks to keep the astronauts from floating away. So you can see the astronauts actually have a harness that is attached to the treadmill. And then with those connections, we actually bring the astronaut towards the surface of the treadmill and we simulate gravity. So for example, if we have somebody that weighs 150 pounds, we add 150 pounds towards the treadmill so they can run at a 1G weight. So that way, we have activities similar to what we do here on the ground. So we can jog, walk, or even run on that treadmill. That movement helps you out with a lot with the bone because you have a lot of impact. And as you run, you have a lot of motor skills that actually are being used. So when we return back on Earth, we have less losses in regards to that.
Wow. I can see that he's doing a marathon, right? Is he doing the Houston Marathon there?
I think that he did either a marathon or a half marathon. We actually have had people on orbit that have run a full marathon, the Boston Marathon. So we have really fit astronauts that like to exercise. So it's easy to work with them.
Well, for now on, I'm going to look at this machine a little bit different here on Earth. Okay, well, let's look at the next one. It's called Mission Control. In Mission Control, on the picture on the left, you'll see children balancing in one foot while they're bouncing a ball off the wall. The other image demonstrates children playing a game by balancing on one foot while throwing the ball to each other. These exercises, they improve balance and spatial awareness. Let's see how balance and spatial awareness are important in space.
So astronauts in space don't know what up or down is. There's no gravity, so we're floating around. So as we start going up again, we go and adapt to the environment that we have. So we start losing some of our balance. We don't have to practice it, so you lose it. The same thing goes with spatial awareness. So we have to make sure that when our astronauts are going into space, we get them ready here on the ground, and they participate in exercises with us, the trainers, that gets them ready, gets them a peak performance prior to going into space. But the most important part comes in once they return. We try to maintain it with the exercise that we do in space, but when they return, they get a number of days that they actually come back and see us for physical training. And we do exercises just like you see with mission control. Bouncing the ball just gets a lot of your balancing works, and then you start realizing where you are situated in space. So we do exactly the things that we're doing for that mission control, something that goes hand to hand. But let me show you a movie of something that may relate with some of you on the webinar, and you can show to your children how spatial awareness and balance are important to do in some of the things that we do on the ground. And it's going to be playing right now.
Sending people back to the moon, which gives me an idea. Why not recruit snowboarders to be astronauts? See, when you go to the moon, it's going to take some sweet skills to make sure the feet on the lunar lander line up with the surface of the moon the right way when you touch down. You'll need somebody who can rotate and flip the spacecraft to compensate for the trajectory during your descent. And I figure if you can bust a cab 9 or a frontside 5 on a snowboard, you could probably stomp a pretty sick lunar landing. For more sports on the moon, check out nasa.gov.
Now let's take a look at our next physical activity. It's called Explore and Discover. In this activity, the children, they increase their aerobic and anaerobic while making their heart and lungs stronger. Why is aerobic and anaerobic important for astronaut training?
Well, both aerobic and anaerobic fitness are very important during all the phases of space exploration. Here on the ground, once we're in space, and when we return. So if we go into any interplanetary surface, we're going to be doing a lot of EVAs or spacewalks that we talked earlier. We're going to be setting up experiments. We're going to be building up possibly that base station. And as mentioned before, those EVAs are typically between 6 to 8 hours long in length. Those are low intensity, long duration activities. That's your aerobic capacity. That's really where you're going to be using it most. But during those EVAs, you might actually have short duration, high intensity activities, such as lifting a very heavy box, like we talked before. Maybe it's a little less gravity, but we got boxes that weigh thousands of pounds. So maybe you got to lift them and put them in the right spot. So you can see how that, and maybe possibly having somebody get hurt in space or here on the ground, as you can see on the picture it's coming in onto your screen, you will have to assist them as a crew member. Astronauts help each other all the time and work as a team. So they will try to take that hurt astronaut and drag him into safety. So it is very important. That is high intensity work that requires a lot of aerobic and anaerobic conditioning. So you can see it's very important to have that and where it applies.
Well, let's take a look at the next one, which is called Agility and Astro Course. The Agility Astro Course helps children improve their movement skills, coordination, and speed. The goal is for children to run and complete a course as fast as they can. Now, do they actually do an Astro Course to help astronauts get trained?
Yes, we do actually. It's one of the tests that we do prior to going into space and coming back. That tells us how much loss in agility and maybe some speed in there. So we do actually do that here on the ground. But when you're in space, similar to balance and spatial awareness, you're not using it. You're maybe working in less gravity, or maybe you're floating around in space, so you don't have the need to do that. That reduces your skills. And astronauts, as we were talking before, we're going to train them before then, so they go up there into having peak performance and having, how fast can they change the direction, having good reaction time, and so forth. So once we have them go into space, they're going to have some reduction into that agility. How quick they are, how can they change direction. And as they return on Earth, our job as astronaut trainers is actually to bring them back to the normal levels of agility. So we need to do exercises with them that are similar to the Agility Astro Course. So again, it applies from our astronaut gym to the classroom and the physical education.
Do you provide different courses, or is it the same course all the time?
We actually have different courses that we provide, except for the one that we use for testing. Because testing, as you know, has to be done on a similar way. So we want to see on if we were doing the agility astro course that you will see later on in some of the videos, you will actually see the same course used multiple times, and we are going to compare test by test and see if they reduce the time, maintain the time, or actually increase the time.
That's a lot of work.
So I think, there's another movie that might help us understand a little bit better and, again, help you out with what we do with agility. Let's take a look.
Hi, I'm pro skateboarder Anthony Furlong. You know, training as an athlete isn't all that different than training to be a NASA astronaut. Athletes and astronauts both know that to perform at our best, it really helps to have a great training ground. A place that will help us learn how to go farther than ever before. That's why I love this place. It has awesome bowls, rails, and vert ramps. And the foam pit doesn't hurt. But when you're an astronaut training to explore Mars, what's your ultimate training ground? Texas? Florida? New Mexico? Maine? Astronauts train in all those places. But the ultimate training ground for astronauts going to Mars just might be covered with moon dust. That's right, the moon. We've got an alien world right in our own backyard, only 250,000 miles away, where we can practice exploring before we take that extra long trip to Mars. Find out why at nasa.gov. And keep training your brain in math and science. America needs you to be the inventors and explorers of tomorrow.
250,000 miles. How many steps is that for Astro Charlie? Those children are going to have to do a lot of activities.
No kid, it's making me thirsty. I think I need to hydrate myself right now. But let's look at the next one. The next physical activity is called speed of light. In this activity, the children perform a test on how to improve their concentration and hand-eye reaction time. In this activity, children work with a partner. One partner drops the ruler while the other partner tries to catch the ruler. Improving concentration and hand-eye reaction time. Does that have to do with space?
Just a little bit. Recently we just got done completing the assembly of the International Space Station, and that required a lot of hands-on activities in there, a lot of EVAs. They had to assemble it, use tools, put it all together. So good coordination between not only yourself, but with your partner is very important. Teamwork. And then hand-eye reaction time. It's also very key, because if we have something that we see and we need to react to, such as maybe a bolt floating away, we kind of want to grab that really quickly. So that's where reaction time comes into hand. In here, you can see an astronaut practicing some underwater spacewalks. For every hour that they're in space, an astronaut has to spend about 8 hours or so underwater practicing the spacewalk, every single step over and over and over until it's just perfect. So you can imagine being inside of that suit will help you get some coordination and some teamwork with your teammates. So let's look at our next activity.
In the astronaut core activity, children perform physical activities such as crunches and planks. I never thought astronauts would do crunches and planks, but they do this to improve abdominal and back muscles. Astronaut core helps astronauts in space too?
Yes, it does. We still, even though there's no gravity, we still have astronauts that are going to be performing movements on their body that include twisting and bending at the hip. So your core muscles and your back muscles are very important into performing those activities. Sometimes those movements are done while actually, as you can see in here, moving big, large items. So that is a big suitcase. Probably inside of that there might be some food, maybe some experiment, but it's probably a couple 100 pounds at least. So again, although it's floating, you have mass, and you have to start and stop the mass. To protect yourself and decrease some of the injury, you have to have a good core for your astronaut. The picture you see to your right actually is another good example. Again, it's one of our crew survival trainings for our astronauts that they have to participate. They're simulating somebody being hurt, so they have to carry them out as a team. Carrying somebody, you can imagine it's a little bit heavy, it's a little bit hard. Right. So they have to have good core muscles in order to keep good form and be able to walk that astronaut all the way to a safety site. So as you can see, it does relate, again, not only in space, but it relates on the ground, how you keep it. So easy to identify.
I'm going to keep up with my planks and my core exercises every day just to make sure I can do this. Well, let's look at the next one. Our last physical activity. It's called crew assembly. And this activity is a skill-based activity where children assemble a puzzle while using working gloves. This activity demonstrates the importance of dexterity, hand and eye coordination, while practicing communication and problem-solving skills. So how does this exercise, crew assembly, relate to space?
Well, the first thing is teamwork. We keep talking about it. It keeps coming back to it. It is so important. The communication is critical for success in space. We are never going to be there alone. We're always going to go as a team. So during spacewalks in particular, astronauts at least are in pairs. So you have one partner that will go with you. And then as they're performing their tasks, either maintenance or maybe some of the things that they got to do in space, in a spacewalk, they might have some challenges, something that does not go right. It does happen, and we have to work through it. So they work together with the team down here in Mission Control, the people that support them, all communicating with one another, working as a team to actually have success. And that's where the problem-solving skills come in. So as they're up there, they're going to be able to provide a suggestion on how to get something solved. Mm-hmm. They're going to work with the ground team, and then we have had pretty good success with our spacewalk. So I think it's a really good skill to have. Also, as you can imagine, we're going to be building things. So we're going to have a glove that is going to be hard to work in. As you can see from this picture, we have an astronaut that is practicing to use the space drill. Okay? That is called a pistol grip tool, or PGT. Okay, we have special names for everything, as you can imagine, just space drill. So our PGT, our astronaut is actually drilling a bolt into the surface of the mock-up in here, the practice surface, and then has a pair of gloves to mimic being inside of a space glove. So if you're inside of a space glove that is pressurized, it's going to be a little bit hard. So you're looking at the person that is right next to you, to your partner, telling you, yeah, you're in the right direction. You're going to be moving to your right, moving to your left, communicating with that person, and then they work together. So why don't we take a look at one of the space gloves that we actually have here?
I can't wait. Let me see.
Okay, so Nubia is actually putting this in, and for you at home, imagine that you're putting your hand inside of a hockey glove, and you can just squeeze against it. That's really how it's going to feel like. It's really, really hard. And the other thing that happens when you actually have the glove on is that you lose dexterity. So you don't know how it feels outside that much. So you're actually going to have to have a different feel, and you actually also have to listen to your partner to make sure that you're not grabbing something too soft or too big. Okay? She actually is holding right now what the different layers that you have inside of a glove. So how does it feel, Nubia? How does it feel squeezing out? Is it easier or harder?
Hard. It's really hard.
And you can see right here, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 surfaces that the hand has to work against it. And this is what the actually spacesuit is made of. It protects you from the environment and any other things that are going on in space. It keeps you alive. So as you can see, it is not that easy to be in that spacesuit.
No kidding. I understand now about dexterity. It's really difficult to hold things, and I can imagine their tools.
Yeah. So now you can see how the kids are going to be having fun putting that puzzle together when you're doing the activity, the crew assembly, because they're going to have a lot of fun when they don't feel those puzzle pieces.
That's going to be a great challenge for them.
Okay, so why don't we go ahead and maybe take a look at the educational activities now. So we're going to begin those. Those are going to be done typically in a classroom setting.
So here we have the Educational Hands-On Activities Guide. You'll have a guide for the student as well as for the instructor. Remember you can download these guides from the MissionX website on the mission data. Okay? These guides, they provide the spaceflight background as well as they're correlated to the national standards. They also provide the safety guidelines, the performance, summative, and formative assessments, as well as the implementation through the scientific method. They have the process skills, and of course, all the materials that you're going to need and how to prep these materials as well. Let's take a look at one of the activities. It's called Energy of an Astronaut. This will be one of our first activities. In this activity, children will calculate the relationship between calories they take in and the energy they use. So let's find out how calories and energy that we use is important for space exploration.
So we've been talking a lot about how much activity that the astronauts do. They're always moving. Their days are busy. And something we have learned from space is that we need similar caloric intake in space as we do here on Earth. So food selection is very important to maintain good peak performance for the astronauts. Okay? So that's something that's very, very important. And then the other thing that happens with food selection is, and supplying them food, is actually that it's a great psychological component of them. Just as anywhere else where we get close with family and friends, a good meal with family and friends in space, it makes you feel like you're at home. So it's very important for that. But a lot of times we don't know how do we get that food into space. How do we package it that it doesn't go bad? So let's look at a couple examples that we have of food items and how they're packaged. We have in there a can that actually it's right in the center, and that is packaged with sealed and protected so that it actually doesn't grow any bacteria. We also have in here some macaroni and cheese. I think that we have in there some spinach, which I think is to the side. All those packages are actually, the air is removed, the water is removed, and they actually have water that will come in from a hot water dispenser, heat it up, and they're able to eat it. I think we also have in there a package for a drink. Maybe not, but that's okay. The package that we have, let me hand it up over here, and the drinks actually come in this little aluminum can package in there. The straw that you see in there actually prevents the water from, or the drink in this case, which you can see is a lemonade drink, to actually coming out. It's especially made for being in space. So as you can see, there are different methods on actually how to package things: dry freeze, dehydrate, pack in a can, and then some of the foods that we might see, like we see with our military, which are meals ready to eat type of packages. So very similar food sources. There are scientists and people that actually do this for our astronauts, to keep them safe, to provide the nutrients that they need, to give them the flavors, because flavor, as you can imagine, is really, really important. So they actually spend a lot of time, they care a lot on what do they do, and they're very important in the processing to going into space.
Well, I understand. I mean, food is very comforting, and it's something that you always have some sort of craving sometimes, so you yearn for something. And like you said, it's home, so it's very important. I'm glad they were able to do this and that they're actually able to sit down and share a meal together. That's really important. Well, let's look at the next activity. The next classroom activity is called Living Bones and Strong Bones. In this activity, children make a bone model that is strong and will hold weight. Bone health in space?
Yeah, bone health in space. We are moving into a microgravity environment. We have a new adaptation for our body. So astronauts are floating into space. So we use both nutrition and exercise combined to actually minimize the changes that your body goes through. So we're trying to keep or maintain bone, muscle in both strengths and size, and then also our body functioning well. So the combination of it, it's really, really important. So to the right, you see, another example of our astronauts eating together. You see, they're continue to eat together. So those nutrients, macro and micro. So we got to make sure we have vegetables, we have proteins, we have our fruits. That's part of what we need for our good nutrition. But that then we combine to the exercise part of it. To the right, we see our advanced resistive exercise device, or ARED, and this allows us to lift free weights in space. So this is a machine that actually helps us perform exercises like we do on the ground. It allows us to do squats, bench press, deadlift. So things that we do on the ground are done over in space. And the reason for us using that is because lifting weights is actually very good for your bones and very good for your muscles. So we have to combine both of them to have a great success in exploring space.
Same here on Earth, right? We need to have the right nutrition and the right exercises to keep our bones healthy as well. Yeah, so that's very important. Let's take a look at our last educational activity called hydration. In this activity, children create simulated urine to identify different levels of hydration, and this helps children at the same time identify when they're dehydrated. Let's learn how astronauts stay hydrated.
So we saw a little bit earlier how we package some of the drinks. We also package water in a similar way. But the important thing about water is that while we're in space, astronauts perform tons of activities, being exercising, experiments that they have to perform, maintenance, just moving around, making sure that the vehicle is working right, making sure that everything is going okay. That increases the demand for water. And we know that water is very important for all the functions of the body. So having a good hydration is critical for mission success. So also one thing that happens is that while we're in space, the body adapts to being in space. You see in the first couple of days, astronauts actually have really puffy faces because all the water goes up to your upper body, to your face. Then it sends a signal to the brain, I don't need this much water, I'm feeling very puffy. So we excrete the excess water. So we actually have a lower water volume when we're over there, and that's what happens a lot in the blood. So we have low blood volume when we're over there. We don't need it. So right before coming on the ground, we have to make sure our astronauts are healthy when they return to one gravity. So we go through a process that it's called fluid loading, or basically you're going to drink a lot of fluid. And we're going to do that so we prevent some of the fainting that it might happen if we return with a low blood volume. So you have some similar things that you have when you have low blood pressure. So you might have some fainting. So we're trying to prevent that by using some of the fluid loading. Also very important, and we'll see here an example of it, is the quality of the water. So in space is very important. And we also practice and make sure our astronauts are conscious about having good understanding into what quality water is. And here we see another part of our survival training where an astronaut is collecting water, but also testing the water. So most people don't know that actually in space we do multiple testings of the water that we have on the International Space Station or any other vehicle that we're going to fly. We do it before, we do it during, do it after, and we know what's going on with the water quality in space. So it's very important for the astronauts to actually have that available for them to keep healthy.
Wow, these educational activities, they really take you science behind the nutrition and physical fitness. Well, let me ask everybody out there, are you ready for the Mission X Challenge? Let's take a look at the Mission X points of contact. Samuel?
So if you have any questions as the challenge progresses, or you have any concerns, we do have a few folks that are going to be here to help you out. You have me, Mission X Coordinator Jamil Garcia, and then behind me there's a set of teammates that are going to be assisting me during this process. We all work together and we want to help you be successful with this Mission X implementation. So make sure that if you have any questions, concerns, or comments, to send them to us. You can also do that via the website in the Ask a Question section of your team lead page. Also, if you have a question regarding this webinar, you can contact us at the information provided in the screen. You can also use the trainlikeanastronaut.org website to send us that information. Remember that the Mission X Challenge is a global experience. You will be exposing your children and yourself to multiple languages, to completing some of the activities and comparing them with children from all over the world, posting up pictures, videos, and who knows, maybe even an astronaut will show up in an area close to you.
Just remember, have fun and enjoy the Mission X 6-week challenge.
We hope that this was great help for you, and we'll see you soon.